Okay, good morning class. To continue with our discussions with the vitamins and minerals. So vitamins and minerals are excreted out of the body, or it is excreted daily, and they are subject for turnover or replenishment. So diet must include sufficient amounts of minerals and vitamins to allow replacement of the lost factors degraded or excreted out of the body. Why? Because vitamins plays the important role in the different biochemical reactions. They serve as cofactor. When I say cofactor, they are the one that uh, utilize the reactions or the generate the reactions between the substrate and of course the enzymes involved. So generally, minerals and vitamins are needed in small amounts only. So we have a fat-soluble vitamins, meaning these are vitamins that are soluble in the fats, or they are known to be hydrophobic. So vitamin A, D, E, K. Okay. So we have vitamin A is really three separate from chemically related compounds. We have the retinol, and retinoic acid. So they plays the important role in remodeling, repair of various tissues, especially epithelial tissues. So what are the example of the epithelial tissues? These are the columnar tissues, pseudostratified tissues, di ba? Squamous tissues, cuboidal tissues that are found in the body. And vitamin A are stored in the liver, transported to other tissues via the bloodstream. So liver is the natural dietary source of vitamin A. Then it is derived from the provitamin beta-carotene found in plants. So ano yung plants that are abundant in beta-carotene are the carrots, for example, tomato. These are common source of the beta-carotene are known as the vitamin A. So vitamin D generated by the actions of sunlight of 7-dehydrocholesterol. The photooxidative reactions leads to vitamin D3 cholecalciferol. So oxidized in liver and kidney to the final active compounds known as 1,2,5-dihydroxy cholecalciferol. So responsible for maintaining the proper bone mineralizations through regulations of metabolism of calcium and phosphate. Kasi vitamin D pays to regulate the metabolic processes involves calcium and phosphate. And of course, vitamin D plays the important role in the management of the COVID-19 patients. Why? Because when vitamin D is taken up in the body, it I mean regulates, or it mediates, the release, or in the internal actions, of the inflammatory cells, or known as the cytokines. Okay, because if we have a COVID-19 or coronavirus infections, so there is inflammations that happens in our body. So the virus infect the tissues of the lungs. So there is epithelial tissues that is present there, so it will be infected. So there is what we call a release, of the inflammatory cells, and that is the time where that is the mechanism wherein vitamin D try to inhibit or down regulate, okay, the the mediators, okay, to suppress the inflammation. So that is the one main rule of vitamin D3 in COVID-19 patients. So what are the sources of this COVID-19? The vitamin D is we have the yung mga cod liver, okay, o fat fish, okay. So they have a higher amount of vitamin D, okay, and to reach the amount, besides the ability of dietary sources, vitamin D skin synthesis, which contribute to the 80% of the healthy individual, okay, especially yung mga up age na 65 years old is important. So yung mga class, mushrooms are also one sources of vitamin D. So exposure, body makes vitamin D when is exposed to ultraviolet rays of the sun. So dapat sa food source natin yung margarine, fortified milk, fatty fish, okay, yung mga shark oil, may mga vitamin D yan. So vitamin E, we have non-polar. So when you say non-polar, fat-soluble, hydrophobic, dissolves with interior of lipid bilayers, meaning when they vitamin E, tocopherols or alpha tocopherols penetrate, the tissues. Okay, so usually they are well absorbed in the lipid layer. So antioxidant, meaning this antioxidant uh, uh, they plays the important role in the what you call this one, the degradation, of the membranes, which protects also for the oxidation process of the proteins. So kasi kung magkaroon ng oxidation process, mostly the tissues, especially the cell membranes, are affected by the oxidation process, of the certain radicals that are being uh, uh, these radicals, are product of the metabolic process in our body. Example, yung mga ketone group, okay, yung mga hydrogen peroxide. So they play the important role in oxidation process that will cause also damage to the cell membranes and protection of the cell membranes. So embedded proteins, so oxidative attack of free radicals, and yung mga tawag sa mga free mga peroxides. Compounds mixtures called alpha tocopherols or tocopherols. So usually yung mga vitamin E, ito yung mga source niya, okay? So mayroon isang source, yung mga mga cereals, mayroon source yan vitamin E. Okay? So mayroon tayong mga synthetic vitamin E. So yung sa Unilab, so that is considered to be commercially prepared. So vitamin K, a collection of related compound based on the structure of menadione. So vitamin K is known to be phytomenadione. Sorry, this one is required for blood clotting of the blood. Usually, if the patients magkaroon ng tawag ng labor, usually vitamin K is added to prevent the bleeding, So found in green leafy vegetables synthesized by bacteria in the gut. So usually when say in the gut, that is in the di doon sa anal part, okay, or in the intestine, okay. Food source of vitamin K includes yung mga cabbage, cauliflower, spinach, and other green leafy vegetables, as well as mga cereals class. Okay? So water-soluble vitamins, the collection of vitamins known as vitamin B. So we have B1, thiamine, riboflavin, B3 is niacin, pantothenic, B5, pyridoxine, B6, cobalamin, folic acid, and the biotin. So these are water-soluble vitamins, meaning they are being they are soluble, in water. Okay. So B1 found in meat, yeast, whole grains, and nuts. So involved in the carboxylation reaction process and the transfer of the acyl group. Okay. Thiamine pyrophosphate or TPP is the corresponding cofactor. So usually they are involved as cofactor. Mga cofactor, they utilize the point of generations of the substrates together with the enzymes. Okay. Vitamin D2, riboflavin, is cofactor is various biochemical redox reaction or reduction oxidation reactions, sources yung meat, nuts, and legumes. We have vitamin B3, niacin, processed by the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, that is the reducing agent. Okay, sources meat, nuts, and legumes also. We have vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, found in yeast, grains, egg yolk, and liver, important part of coenzyme. So it helps in the transfer of the acyl group during the reaction process. Vitamin B6, pyridoxine, liver, yeast, nuts, and beans. So activated by attachment of the phosphate group. So they play the important role in the interconversion, of the amino group and the keto acid groups. Okay. So biosynthesis, usually it involves in the resonance activity of a certain compound wherein there is interconversion from the double bond to the single bond. Okay, so certain biomolecules contains double bond or single bond in our body. Okay, biosynthesis of neurotransmitters, we have the serotonin and dopamine and sphingolipids. So they act as a cofactor. Okay. Next, vitamin B12 cobalamin synthesized by the bacteria, so found in liver, kidney, and eggs and cheese, so needed for the key reactions in catabolic process of certain fatty acids, wherein fatty acid triglycerides is converted into what we call this one, into glycerol and fatty acids. That is the, or certain fatty acids, di ba? Yun ang natawag natin na catabolic reactions needed in metabolism of course, of different amino acids. Folic acid class found in the liver, yeast, and leafy vegetables needed for synthesis of nucleotides. Okay? Yung mga pyrimidines natin. Okay? Thiamine, okay? Thymidine. So, plays role in the different biochemical reactions. Okay? Yung biotin class available in different variety of foods. So, usually made by, that is being synthesized by the gut of bacteria. Cofactor in carboxylation reactions. When I say carboxylation, addition of the carboxyl group during the reaction process. We have vitamin C that is found in fresh fruits and vegetables. Yung mga oranges nyo, mga guava, yung mango are also rich in vitamin C. So, reducing agent, okay? Sources of electrons in certain biochemical reactions. So, ito yung example ng mga brand of vitamins and minerals that are available in the market class. Okay? So, as medical practitioners, doctor, nurse ka man, and of course, pharmacy, you have to be familiar also with the different vitamins that are available in the market. Okay? So, we go now to gluconeogenesis. What do you mean gluconeogenesis? It is the pathway leading from simple non-carbohydrate precursors to a sugar glucose. Meaning, yung non-carbohydrate precursors niya, yung source niya, okay, it will, what we call this one, synthesize, okay, or metabolize into a sugar. The pathway may be begin in mitochondria and cytoplasm. This begin dependent substrate being used. So many of these reactions are reversible steps found in glycolysis. So meaning yung product ng glycolysis is the pyruvate. So ang gluconeogenesis is opposite of your glycolysis. Meaning yung if the product of your glycolysis is pyruvate plus lactate, this one, the glycolysis, the product is the glucose. From that pyruvate, okay, it will be, the reactions will be reversed mostly of the glycolysis process. So the product here is the glucose. Okay. Importance: only liver can replenish blood glucose through gluconeogenesis because glucose 6-phosphatase is the enzyme that mostly present in the liver. Okay, that is an enzyme in the liver. So liver enzyme yung phosphatase plays the important role in maintaining the blood glucose level. So, during starvation class, so nagutom tayo, okay, gluconeogenesis maintains the blood glucose level because, why? A carbohydrate is the energy-giving foods. So, glucose is the main source of energy. For example, nagkaroon ka ng gutom. Nagutom ka, papila ka adlaw duwa. So, our body will survive because of the existing glucose that is found. So, kung maubos na yung ma-utilize mo na tanan na glucose dyan in our body, so you will die soon kung wala ng glucose. So, the stored glycogen class is depleted within first to 12-18 hours of fasting. So, meaning, once nag-fasting ka, within a day, sa 18 hours mo, yung stored glycogen that is found in the liver, it will be, it undergoes the catabolic process, or known as glycogenolysis. Okay, the breakdown of your glycogen into a glucose. Okay? And one prolonged starvation class, the gluconeogenesis is speed up, and protein catabolism provides the substrates of glucogenic amino acids. Yung mga glucogenic amino acids, it will going to help, okay, in order to produce glucose because the body is already exhausted. So there is no available glucose or there is no available energy to be utilized because wala nang pagkain. Okay? That is already starvation. Nag-fasting ka. Okay? Steps of gluconeogenesis. So, gluconeogenesis begins with in the mitochondria the formation of your oxaloacetate by carboxylation of pyruvate. Meaning, itong pyruvate, okay, undergoes the carboxylation process. Okay? So, pyruvate is converted to oxaloacetate. The reaction involved is carboxylation. This reaction also requires one molecule of adenosine triphosphate and is catalyzed by pyruvate carboxylase enzyme. So this enzyme is stimulated by high levels of acetyl-CoA enzyme A produced in beta oxidation of the liver and inhibited by high levels of adenosine diphosphate. So meaning there is a utilization of your ATP. So take note the conversion of your pyruvate. Take note the pyruvate class is a product of glycolysis. So gluconeogenesis is the reverse. So from pyruvate to oxaloacetate, the process is known as carboxylation. The enzyme involved is pyruvate carboxylase. Okay? So the enzyme stimulated by high levels of your acetyl-CoA enzyme A produced in beta oxidation in the liver. So this is the reaction class. We have the pyruvate. Then it undergoes carboxylations that is acted by enzyme carboxylase. So it will form now the oxaloacetate, which is needed in synthesis of aspartate via transamination process or citrate via citric acid cycle and phosphoenol pyruvate via gluconeogenesis. So this is our main topic for main goal is the gluconeogenesis process. Okay, this is step 1. So, oxaloacetate is reduced to malate using NADH, a step required for its transportation out of the mitochondria. So, once sa step 2 nyo class, yung oxaloacetate is reduced to malate by the reducing agent nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide plus hydrogen. Okay? And step number 3, malate is oxidized to oxaloacetate using NAD in the cytosol. So when I say cytosol, that is a fluid found in the cytoplasm where the remaining steps of gluconeogenesis takes place. Okay? So what is the reaction there? So sa step 2 nyo, ganito. Oxaloacetate. Okay, diba? From pyruvate to oxaloacetate, that is carboxylation. So magkaroon ng natawag natin na dehydrogenation process that is acted by enzyme NADH. Okay? So malate dehydrogenase, it will be converted to malate. So, and malate, again class, will be converted to oxaloacetate. Why? Because hindi siya basta-basta makalabas doon sa mitochondria. So, it will be will be converted into a small unit known as malate. Then, your malate class, so, again, it will be acted by the, again, it will be oxidized to oxaloacetate using the NAD. Okay? So, where the remaining steps of gluconeogenesis takes place. So, this is your step number 3. So, this is reversible. This is irreversible process. Okay? So, step 4 class, oxaloacetate. Ito na yung step 1. Diba? Again, pyruvate is converted to oxaloacetate. It is inside the mitochondria. Okay? That is acted by pyruvate carboxylase enzyme. And then, your oxaloacetate is converted to malate that is acted by your NADH or your dehydrogenase enzyme. Then malate, okay, is converted again to oxaloacetate that is already in the cytosol. Okay? So this is your step 3. Okay? It involves now the reducing agent. So oxaloacetate in step number 4 is decarboxylated, okay? And then phosphorylated to form phosphoenol pyruvate or known as the PEP. Okay? Using the enzyme phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. So, a molecule of your GTP or guanosine triphosphate is hydrolyzed to guanosine diphosphate during this reaction. So, there is what we call a phosphate group is being utilized in the process in step number 4. Okay? So, again, yung oxaloacetate is decarboxylated. So, there is removal of your carboxyl group. And then, phosphorylated at the same time to form phosphoenol pyruvate. That's why meron siyang phospho. Okay? Using the enzyme PEP using the enzyme known as phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. Okay? So, yung product is PEP. That is phosphoenol pyruvate. The product in step number 4. Okay? So, this one is the reaction. So, oxaloacetate. So, converted to phosphoenol pyruvate by phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. So, this phosphorylation process in your JTP is converted to JDP. Okay? So, this removal of carboxyl group. So, the reaction is considered to be reversible. Next. So, yung phosphoenol glycerate nyo class, phosphoenol pyruvate nyo, diba ito na siya? So, this one is again is converted to phosphoglycerate. That is acted by enzyme phosphoglyceromutase. Okay? So, it is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. Then, yung 3-phosphoglycerate mo class, pwede siyang i-isomerize into 2-phosphoglycerate. This is yung step 4 pa ha. So, to continuation yan. So, yung phosphoenol pyruvate, the product of your step 4, okay, is again isomerized or converted to 3-phosphoglycerate that is acted by enzyme phosphoglyceromutase enzyme, and then it is converted again to and then 3-phosphoglycerate class is isomerized to 2-phosphoglycerate, okay, which is considered to be the isomer of your 3-phosphoglycerate. So ito yung dalawang enzyme involved, okay. So magkaroon na namang tinatawag natin na isomerization process. Okay? So, phosphoglycerate mutase and enzyme that involved in the conversion of your 3-phosphoglycerate to 2-phosphoglycerate. So, same lang yan, class. Okay? Next. Again, yung 3-phosphoglycerate, okay? That is the final product of your step 4. Okay? Ito, step 4 pa. So, is converted to 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate. Okay? That is acted by enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase. So, there is utilization of energy there. And then, yung 1,3-bis phosphoglycerate class is converted again to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate that is acted by enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. So, there is what we call a reducing agent. So, NADPH is converted to NADP. Okay? So, there is what we call a removal of that phosphate group. Okay? Then, take note class, yung 3, yung tawag nato, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Yung continuation pa ito, it is the process between step 4 and step 5, is converted again to phospho-1,6-bis phosphate. Okay? So, ito yung class step reverse ng step number 4 ng glycolysis. Take note. So, usually, di ba, doon sa step number 4 na pwede siya i-convert sa dihydroxyacetone. So, dito yon ang glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate mo, it is the product of the steps between step 4 and step 5 of gluconeogenesis. So, pwede siya ma-convert into fructose 1,6-bis phosphate. Okay? So, take note, the next step is the reaction involved, same as reverse of glycolysis. So, however, yung fructose 1,6-bis phosphate kanina class, itong fructose 1,6-bis phosphate, okay? Yung fructose 1,6-bis phosphatase enzyme converts fructose 1,6-bis phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. Okay? So, this one, using one water molecule and releasing, this is also the rate-limiting step of gluconeogenesis. So, malapit na yan. That is almost step number 2 of your glycolysis process. So, si 1,6-bis phosphate nyo class, saan ang galing yan? Dito yan sa glyceraldehyde. Okay? Wherein your glyceraldehyde is also converted to fructose 1,6-bis phosphate. Okay? Kasi nag-splitting phase yan. Yung si glyceraldehyde mo, paano siya maging bisphosphate, sir? Of course, there is interaction, of course, with the dihydroxyacetone. Kasi ito, reversible. Once i-condense mo yung dalawa, yung product niya is 1,6-bis phosphate. Nakuha nyo? So, si 1,6-bis phosphate na yan, okay, will be converted. Yung 1,6-bis phosphatase enzyme converts yung 1,6-bis phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. So, that is already the reverse of step number 2. So, this step is rate limiting. So, meaning madali lang. Okay? So, step 3, sorry. Okay? So, step 3, reverse of step 3 yung step 5, sorry. That is the reverse of step 3 of glycolysis. Meaning, yung fructose 1,6-bis phosphatase enzyme is converted to converts, fructose 1,6 bisphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. So that is the reverse of step 3 of glycolysis. Okay? Next, number 6. So we have the product glucose 6-phosphate is formed from fructose 6-phosphate by the phosphoglucoisomerase. So this is already the to correct kaginaya step 3. This is already the reverse of step number 2 of glycolysis. Okay? So glucose 6-phosphate can be used in the metabolic pathways of dephosphorylated to free glucose. So whereas free glucose can easily diffuse in and out of the cells. So phosphorylated form is glucose 6-phosphate is locked in the cells, mechanism which intracellular glucose are being controlled by cells. So meaning itong number 6 nyo class, dito tayo sa fructose 6 phosphate, okay, is converted to glucose 6-phosphate. That is step number 2 of glycolysis. And this is the step number 6 of gluconeogenesis. Okay? So, ito yung glucose 6-phosphate will be locked inside the cells. So, ito yung i-convert into glucose. Okay? So, meaning, mag-convert ang fructose 6-phosphate mo to glucose 6-phosphate to glucose. That is the reverse already of step number 2 of glycolysis. Okay? So, glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose by glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. Okay? So, yan, taba, reverse of step number 2, glucose 6-phosphate. Ito. So, yung fructose 6-phosphate mo class is converted to glucose 6-phosphate by phosphoglucoisomerase. Pero kung ang glucose 6-phosphate mo sa glycolysis convert into fructose 6-phosphate, that is acted by phosphohexose isomerase enzyme. Isomerase, ha? Okay? Final reactions. So, finally, the final reactions of gluconeogenesis, the formation of glucose occurs in the lumen by endoplasmic reticulum where glucose 6-phosphate is hydrolyzed by glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, phosphatase, okay, to form glucose. So, glucose is shuttled in the cytoplasm by glucose transporters in the plasmic reticulum for, of course, for the glycolysis process na naman. Okay? To generate energy. Meaning, so yung last step, yung step 7 ng gluconeogenesis is the reverse of step number 1 of glycolysis process wherein glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose that is acted by enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. Pero kung glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, that is hexokinase. So, glycolysis process naman yun. Okay? Okay, so this one, try to see, glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose that is acted by glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. And this, this glucose class will be utilized for glycolysis process. Okay? So, nakita nyo, so, once the glycolysis process siya, ito din yung gamitin ng katawan ng tao because nag-starvations ka, kulang ka na sa energy. So, magkaroon na yung tawag natin na glycolysis in order to produce energy again. Okay?